trying to maybe develop relationships with other men. If she finds herself just falling into these kind of situations and she knows potentially she could end up in adultery, then my advice to her would be to seek divorce, get out of that relationship. Inshallah, Allah will protect the children. You try to do your best in that regard. As he was mentioning, well, even such a case that the father will automatically get the children. And I explained, well, no, this is not the case. The father doesn't automatically get the children. Up until the age of around 7, the children remain with the mother. At the age of 7, then the children choose which one they want to go to. And again, she was sort of saying, well, this isn't really fair. Well, the point is, it's not an issue of, to say it's not really fair, it's actually quite fair. I mean, it's not fair to some degree on the part of the man, because if the children have spent, up to the age of 7 with the mother, the likelihood of them leaving the mother is very small. In other words, Islam favors that the children stay with the mother. Now, if children reach the age of 7 and they don't want to be with the mother, that means there's something fundamentally wrong there. And they prefer to be with the father, then, Islam says, then the children should go to the father. So, it's a decision she has to make. If she sees herself, as I said, falling into a state of corruption, then the best thing is to get out of that relationship. To save her religion. As regards the children, she does what she has to do. Allah will protect her decision, her children, the process, herself and her children, because she's trying to do this for the sake of Allah, for the sake of the religion, protecting her faith. Now, we have a question which was written in by some students in school asking, Dear Dr. Bilal, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are students in high school, and we have a question for you regarding relationships between boys and girls prior to marriage. Is it halal? Well, relationships between boys and girls prior to marriage, if these boys and girls, are potential mates in marriage, then the relationships, according to Islamic tradition, Islamic law, really, the relationship, there should be no relationship. The boys should be going to boys' schools, girls going to girls' schools. But of course, this is a situation now where boys and girls are now ending up in schools together, and so some relationships are going to develop. I mean, they're in the classrooms together, whatever. The tendency for relationships to develop are there. And questions have come into me, by phone also. One girl had called in and saying, what should she do? She knows it's not right to have these relationships, there are boys coming and talking to her. But she's with her friends, and her friends are encouraging her to be with them, and they're involved in talking with the other boys, and what should she do? Well, I told her that she needs to find another set of friends. She needs to find a set of friends who recognize that it is not really permissible for them to socialize with boys, and that way she can protect her religion. So my advice here with regards to this relationship between boys and girls prior to marriage, of course, Islamically speaking, it's not acceptable. It is the prelude to fornication, because fornication is not going to take place unless some kind of relationship is built. And this relationship, as I said, without it being something expressly for marriage purposes, with the permission and supervision of the families involved, then such a relationship is not acceptable Islamically. So my advice, to boys and girls who are in schools where students may be mixed, mixed co-education taking place, my advice would be for you to stick with boys who are aware of these limits that Allah has set, and avoid making unnecessary contact with girls. And similarly, my advice to the girls would be to do the same. They had a further question, and that is the intermingling of both sexes in schools and parties. Is this halal? Well, of course, it is not halal. You know, boys and girls, from an Islamic perspective, they may study together up till about the age of 10. That's up to around something around grade 3. After that, they should be separated. This is based on the principle of the Prophet had said, teach your children Salah when they're 7, and spank them for it when they're 10, and separate them in their beds. This is reported that at the age of 10, this is when a sense of sexuality and consciousness of sex and the difference between males and females starts to develop. And this is the time when the boys and girls need to be separated in order to prevent the development of relationships, which could be quite damaging to the future of both, of the children, both boys and the girls. And, we know of recent cases in the media, in England, just recently a girl who was 11 years old, she has been added to the list of sex offenders in England because she molested some young boys who were one at the age of 5 and one at the age of 7. And the case of the Swiss American boy in Florida, who himself around the age of 11, 12, was arrested for molesting his younger sister, who was the age of 5. So, this is showing us that there is a potential harm there. There is great potential harm there. So, it is better that the sexes be separated in the schools, and the arguments for co-education are weak arguments. They have never been proven to be beneficial, superior to a separate sex education in schools. This is a thing which started, some years back in Europe and spread over the rest of the world, and it became its own justification. Recent studies in New York, have shown that girls study and do better in school when they study on their own, girls with other girls. In fact, there are teachers there now pushing for single-sex schools, in particular for girls' schools. And, this is the academic proven studies which have confirmed that, in fact, single-sex education schools are better. And we have no doubt that, in the case of boys, where girls are in the classes with them, that there are all these distractions, and it's going to affect their ability to concentrate on the subject matter which is being presented before them. And as regards parties, well, of course, it's, gatherings where young men and young women are gathering, parties where, of course, when there are parties where people are getting together and dancing and these kind of things, usually, these kind of gatherings, of course, this is forbidden. If young men alone get together as a gathering and young girls gather separately, there is no harm as long as it's not for birthdays or any other celebrations which are un-Islamic or, unacceptable Islamically. If they gather for social purposes, it's permissible. But mixed gatherings of this type, again, would be forbidden because of the fact that it has, potential harm to their religion, to themselves, as chaste or virtuous human beings. So my advice would be to avoid such gatherings. If one knows that it's going to be a mixed gathering of your friends, essentially boys and girls, then you should not attend, both the boys and the girls. The last question which was raised by the students was, is marriage to a non-Muslim acceptable, and what are the consequences? Well, the marriage to a non-Muslim is permissible if that non-Muslim is a Christian or a Jew. And this is only in the case of Muslim men marrying Christian or Jewish women. This has been explained in some previous programs, but just briefly, the woman who to be married, if she is Christian or Jewish, a Muslim man may marry her, but she must also be known to be chaste, meaning that she has never had any relations outside of marriage, either she was married and divorced or widowed, she was a virgin, she's unmarried, and a virgin. Such a woman may be married, but any other case where the woman has had sexual relations outside of marriage, then it's not permissible for a Muslim man to marry her. And there are, of course, a number of different reasons. This is in order to protect the religion of the Muslim woman. If a Muslim woman was married to a non-Muslim man, then he would likely ask her to do things which are against her religion. Whereas a Muslim man married to a Christian or Jewish woman, the things that he may ask her in her home or in his home, these would not be against the principles of her religion. I hope that point is clear, and we'd like to thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Light of Islam. And you may write into us to the address mentioned in the beginning of the program, P.O. Box 111, or Sharjah, UAE, or you may call in to me or to the Islamic Information Center in Dubai 04, that is 396-2190. And we hope to see you in future programs, and we welcome your questions, your encouragement, and we bid you farewell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.